Hello everyone, this is the Algebra Midterm Review Sheet, and we're going to get started with question number 1. What is the solution to the equation below? Just remember, when you see parentheses, you're going to do distributive property. You get 2 times x, which is 2x, 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6, equals 2x minus 6. Remember, you have the same expression on both sides, so this is the same. It is infinitely many solutions. And that means that's the same expression on both sides of the equal sign, and that is it. So it says solve the equation for the missing variable, so we're going to do that distributive property. 2 times 2 is 4, and then we're going to bring down the plus x equals 1/3 times 6x is 2x. You do that right in your calculator. 1/3 times a negative 3 is a negative 1. We're going to combine like terms on the left side. We have 1x here. 2x plus 1x is 3x. Plus, we're going to bring down that plus 4 equals 2x minus 1. Remember, when we are solving with variables on both sides, bring the smaller over to the larger. So we're just going to subtract the 2x on both sides right here. To get the x's together, that is like the main thing that you have to do. The 2x and the minus 2x cancel out. 3x minus 2x equals x. And you bring down the plus 4 and you bring down the negative 1. So you subtract 4 on both sides. And you get x equals negative 5 as an answer. And that is it for that question. Number 3, John paid LA Fitness $50 membership fee. So I'm going to highlight that. Plus $10 per training session. His total for the month is $440. And they just want to write an equation to determine how many training sessions he took for the month. So the way you do this is you take the membership fee. This is the B. This is your initial fee. That's the 50. The $50 per, I'm sorry, the $10 per training session is M, is the slope. The total is always the equal sign and the 440. So we're just going to write this 50 plus 10 per training session with 10x equals 440. Or you can write it the way I would prefer, with the slope first. Y equals mx plus b is kind of like what I'm looking at. So either one would be accepted. Just know that each one works. So Samantha is solving a quadratic equation. Her first step is shown below. So the problem is this one right here. And you just kind of take a look at what is being used to get her to the first step right here. So first thing that I notice is that the parentheses are gone. So she probably did this. So 2 times 3x is 6x and 2 times 5 is 10. So I could immediately say, okay, distributive property is a part of this, and it's over addition. Means that the distributive property is being performed that over the addition sign. So then what happens though is that this 12x, this negative 12x, kind of goes over here, and this negative 9 goes in that direction. So we're just switching the negative 9 and the negative 12. It just switches, right? And the signs are going with it. So that's when you're switching like that, that's commutative property. It's like negative 2 minus 1 is equal to negative 1 minus 2. It's the same thing. It's the commutative property. So what two properties did Samantha use to get to step 1? It's 2 and 4. So 2 and 4. Number 5, we're getting into literal equations. So I'm just going to rewrite 3ax plus b equals c. And we have to solve for x. So here's the x right here. So you have to solve for that. So the first thing that I want to do is subtract b on both sides. That's the first step. The b's cancel. So I'm just going to write 3ax equals c minus b. Then I have to solve for x. So this is all multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're just going to divide by whatever we need to cancel. And we need 3 to cancel with the 3. And we need a to cancel with the a. And the x gets left alone, which is when you solve for x. And you have c minus b. I don't know what I was doing there. C minus b over 3a. And that is your answer. The more difficult of the literal equations is this one. So I'm just going to kind of extend the page here and rewrite this whole equation right down here. This is v equals 1/2 a times b plus c times h. We want to solve for b in terms of a, c, and h. So here's the b, and we do not want to use distributive property. The first thing that I look at this and say, I need to get rid of this fraction. So the way to get rid of the fraction is to multiply by 2. I can multiply by 2 here, I can multiply by 2 here. Whatever it is, I'm going to multiply by 2. I can put 2v, and see this 2 cancels with this 2. So I'm just going to rewrite 2v equals a times b plus c and then h. You see how the fraction's gone now? That's what you wanted. So now I want the a and the h to be gone. All right, just to get to the b and the c, the b plus c. So this is all multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we are going to divide. The a cancels with the a, the h cancels with the h. So now this becomes 2v over ah equals b plus c. There's one more step to solve for b. You minus c on both sides. And we are almost done. The c's cancel out. That's what you want. You want the b to be alone. So you have b equals 2v over ah minus c. And that is your answer. Right here. Right? A tough question, but inverse operations, use what you know. Right? Number 7. What value of the constant h in the equation shown below would result in infinitely many solutions? So it says what value for the constant h, right? So we have to look for a constant, this value here, to substitute in here that would make this have infinitely many solutions. And the infinitely many solutions has the same slope and the same y-intercept. So we're just going to go and say, okay, this really needs to be, whatever I put in for h, when I substitute it in, it has to be the same exact thing, it has to result in this. So what times 4 would equal 8? That is a 2. And then 2 times 9, we could do 2 times 9. Would that equal 18? Yes, it would. So if you have 8x plus 18 equals 8x plus 18, that would be infinitely many solutions. So h would have to be equal to 2. Same everything. What is the solution to the equation shown below? We have to combine like terms. So we have the 5x and the 2x, and that is 7x. I'm going to bring down the plus 10, and then equals 7x plus 10. And it's the same thing. It's infinitely many solutions. The same thing on both sides. Same expression on both sides. And it's infinitely many solutions. For number 9, we have a lot to do here, but we have, again, distributive property over addition. So we have negative 6x, and then minus 10, because negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10. I'm going to bring down the 10x, and then I'm also going to bring down everything else on the right side of the equal sign. I'm going to combine like terms, so we have negative 6x plus 10x, that is positive 4x. You bring down the minus 10, you have 10x plus 14. We're definitely going to have a solution here because we have different x's, right? So nothing is the same on both sides, so we're just going to have to figure out what this one solution will be. This cancels. I'm going to bring down the negative 10. You subtract the 4x on both sides to get the smaller over to the larger. Just get those x's together. They have to be on one side to solve. So we are going to subtract the 14 on both sides. Again, starting to get the x alone. This cancels. We have 6x coming down on the right side, and we have negative 24 coming down on the left side. Then we divide by 6 on both sides, and we get x equals negative 4. Negative 24 divided by 6 is negative 4. And here we go with unit 2, linear relationships. Anytime that you have the linear relationships, it has to be in that y equals mx plus b format. If it is not in that y equals mx plus b format, that means that we cannot solve for the slope. We cannot solve for the y-intercept. So we have to solve for y first to identify those things. So we're going to add the 4x on both sides to start to get the y alone. This cancels. We have 8y coming down equals, and I'm going to put the 4x first plus 24. You divide by 8 on both sides, and you will get y equals 1/2. 4 over 8 is 1/2 x, and then 24 divided by 8 is 3. So the slope is m. M is the number for x, which is 1/2, and the b is 3. Number 11, find the slope of the line. That's all they want, is to find the slope. So this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. The slope formula that everybody should know, but I'm going to write it down anyway. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The slope y2 is 16 minus 6 on the top is the numerator, and the denominator is 3 minus 1. So the slope is 16 minus 6 is 10 over 2. You put that in a calculator, you get 5. That is the end of the question. So it's not that difficult right there, just slope. Write the equation of the line that has a slope of 9. So I'm going to put m equals 9. And a b y-intercept of negative 8. You have y equals 9x minus 8. And that question is finished. Write the equation of the line that represents the, write an equation represents the line shown on the coordinate grids. A little bit iffy there. Write the equation of the line that is represented by the coordinate grid, the graph on the coordinate grid. So just remember, you need two things. You need the slope, and you need the y-intercept. So I have the y-intercept as negative 2 here, right? So I'm just going to pick another point, which is right in the corner of a box for a whole number coordinate, and I'm going to make my little triangle there, rise over run. The run right here is 4, so it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the rise is 1. So rise over run is 1/4. When we put the equation together, always put y equals 1 over 4x minus 2. That's it for that one. Again, you will need two things. You need the slope and the y-intercept. The y-intercept is clearly 2. And I'm just going to go and pick another point that is right in the corner of the boxes. So this is 2, this is 1. Rise over 1, run is 1 over 2. The m equals 1 over 2. So we're going to write the equation down. Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. And those are the two equations. The cost of renting a moving van can be modeled by, and I'm going to use my highlighter for this. So we're talking about a moving van that is a cost that we're renting, where y is the total. Y is always the total for m miles of driving. State the meaning of the slope and y-intercept of this function with respect to the costs associated with the van rental. And so the slope of this is 350. So this van costs 350 per mile for this rental. And then the y-intercept, the meaning of the y-intercept in context of the problem is that the initial cost to rent the van is $19.99 according to this van rental. And that is how you explain the meaning of the slope and the y-intercept in the context of this problem. Corey drinks water from a bottle during a bike ride. The average amount of water in ounces in his water bottle can be represented by this equation. So they're giving you the equation where y is obviously the amount of water remaining after x hours. So hours, that's basically your x. And then they want, based on this equation, what amount of water in the ounces will remain in the bottle after Corey rides 2.5 hours. So all you have to do is rewrite the equation and realize that the time, that's the x. So I'm going to put 2.5 instead of 2.5 in for x, substitute that in. And I'm going to bring up the calculator. And I am going to put -8 times 2.5. And then it's plus 32. And you enter and it's 12. So y equals 12 ounces of water remaining. And that is it. So John left his home and walked 3 blocks to school as shown in the accompanying graph. Explain where John was walking the fastest. How can you tell? Here are your answers. John was walking the fastest during interval A to B. You could tell right away that A to B right here, and let me just get the highlighter out. A to B is the steepest interval, the line with the steepest, the fastest rate. That means it's the steepest line during that interval. And then they were asking about this right here, B to C. And all we could say about that is that John waited a short time to cross a busy street where distance is not increasing and time is still going on. So obviously he stopped for a short time, and that's about it. So a software company kept a record for an annual budget for advertising their profit for the last 8 years. These data are shown in the table, so you can see exactly what that is. They want the linear regression equation and the correlation coefficient. So just remember, correlation coefficient is the R, and the R to see that correlation coefficient, you do have to turn the stat diagnostics on. So I'll just go over that with you now. Just press mode, and you see going all the way down. I'm going to press down, and I'm going down right here to stat diagnostics. And you see if it's off, you'll see the off shaded. It is on, mine is on, so I'm good. But every time you reset the calculator, it does go, it's automatically switched to off. So you have to remember when you reset the calculator that you have to remember to go to mode and switch the stat diagnostics on. I'll make a note of that on this review sheet. So now you press stat and you press enter. You leave it on edit and you press enter. I have numbers as my L1 and L2 in there already. And it just happens to be the numbers that I need for this. So I'm going to leave them in there. But to put those numbers in, you press 10, you go to L1, you press 10, press enter. You press 13, you press enter. And each number gets inputted into this list, list 1. Once you're finished with list 1, you go over to L2, and then you put 2.2, 2.4, you press enter and enter and enter and enter. To delete these, remember you go up to clear them, you press clear, and then you press enter. That'll clear this whole list all at once. If you don't do that, if you press delete, that means the L1 is going to be gone. So don't press delete, press clear. All right, when it comes down to it. So I have all these numbers in. Now, I have to get the linear regression equation. To get the linear regression equation, I have to press stat again, right? Now, instead of edit, I'm going to go to the right one to calculate, and then go down to 4, or press 4 right away. All right. Once you're on this, you're pressing enter like 5 times to calculate, and then you'll see a whole bunch of different like numbers and everything like that. Just remember the y equals m. You see that a? That's the m, x plus b. The a is the m, slope, 0.41, and the b is negative 2.31. So let me just go and put the linear regression equation down, and I shouldn't write in. All right, I'm not writing in a highlighter, so it's y equals, and I'm going to put the a right here, 0.41x, right, as my slope, and here's the y-intercept, this negative minus 2.31. That is the linear regression equation, and it says, the next question says, state to the nearest hundredth the correlation coefficient of this data. So the correlation coefficient is the one that says R. So you see it says R right here. So it says to the nearest hundredth. So it's R equals 0.9. Do you see this 8? I'm going to change that to a 9 because the next number is 6. So this is 9. All right, and that is the correlation coefficient. So the correlation coefficient, since it's very, very close to 1, indicates that there is a very strong positive correlation between annual advertising budget, you have to put that right there, and profit. All right, so that's basically it. That's what the correlation coefficient indicates about the linear fit of the data. Right, so this says name the correlation, then draw the line of best fit. So what we're going to say about this correlation is that it is a positive correlation, and it's a positive correlation. It is a strong positive. Remember, when they're clustered around, it's a strong positive correlation, and this would be the line of best fit. Put an arrow on the top. That is a good line of best fit. Let me move this down just a little. bit right there, right in the middle of the center, as best as you possibly can. This one would be a strong, that would be nice to change it back to a pen. So we have a strong, because again, the points are clustered together, strong negative correlation. And I'm going to draw that line of best fit, like this, through the center of all the points. Remember, it doesn't have to start at 0, 0. It can start somewhere up here. And that's it. Strong negative. And then this one is no correlation. No correlation is no pattern. And you can't predict future values. Can't. That looks pretty bad, but that's the way it is. And that ends that question. Unit 3, Intro to Functions, and this is when you kind of start to speed up a little bit. We have identify if each relation is a function or not. We're going to go and look at all of the x's only. So just remember, you're looking at all of the x's, right? So if the x's do not repeat, if they do not repeat, that then this is definitely a function. Looking at the x's only, none of the x's repeat, same thing, that's a function. So we're looking for, we're just identifying if each is a function or not. This is a function. And then we have 2 and 2. 2 going to 6, but 1 goes to 4 and 1 goes to 5. So this is not a function. Remember, the 2 going to 6 and the 2 going to 6, this is okay. Then because it goes to the same y. But the 1 going to 4 and the 1 going to 5, that's not good. All right, and that's what makes it not a function. So it just says write linear or nonlinear for the following functions. Just remember, when you have the exponent as a variable, it is nonlinear. This is y equals mx plus b, so this is linear. The slope is -9 and the y-intercept is 4. You cannot have the exponent next to the variable, so this is nonlinear. You can't have the variable as the denominator, so this is nonlinear. If you ever get confused, just go ahead and graph it in your graphing calculator, and then this is linear. Just remember, we're just taking a look at this. It's a little confusing. There's a 1 that is right here. You see how it's a -1? So the slope would be -1 over 3. The y-intercept would be 9 divided by 3, which is just 3. All right. And number 21, it says the table below represents the total miles as a function of numbers of gallons of gas in the tank. What is the rate of change and what does it represent? So the first thing, it says what is the rate of change. So I am just going to go ahead and figure out the rate of change. Remember, anytime you're figuring out the rate of change, you are busting out that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula. And we are just going to go, and y2 is, in this case, is minus 240. minus 60, and we have 8 minus 2. So if you put that all in the calculator, you will see exactly what you get. So this is 180 over 6, and then the calculator won't give you 180 over 6, but it'll give you 30. So I want you to realize it makes it much easier for myself. If I'm looking at this, and just before, I'm just going to erase this 30 for a second. That's the answer. But 180, what does that represent? That represents, I'm still in, okay, that represents miles. So 180 miles. And I'm getting that from this. And 6 represents gallons. So when you solve it, when you divide these, you get 30 miles per gallon. And that's how you figure out like what it represents according to what is going on in the function, in the actual question. And that's exactly what it is. This Honda Civic travels 30 miles per gallon. All right, it says compare the rates of change of the two functions listed below. We're just going to go ahead and figure out the slope. So we're just going to go x1, y1, and just kind of as like peeking at my choices. It's just talking about rate of change. So I am not going to worry about the y-intercept at all. So it's 16 minus 10 and 3 minus 1. So m equals 6 over 2. 6 over 2 is 3. So this one, I'm going to have to read it. And it says function 2 is the value of y is always an equal sign, 3 times the value of x, so it's 3x, increased, that's addition, by 6, so plus 6. So m equals 3. So I'm not worried about the y-intercept, like I said, because they're not worried about it, like in the question. So function 1 and 2 have the same rate of change. Yes, they do. A is your answer. All right. Simply just put this into the calculator. And I'll go ahead. I'm going to bring up the calculator. This is the absolute value of x plus 3. So just to remind you of how to do this, you're going to press y equals, and we're going to clear this out right now. And we need to get to the absolute value. And I don't know where it is, right? We don't know where it is. So just make this a little bit bigger just to show you. We're going to press math, right? So math button is right there. I don't see anything here. So I'm going to go over to the right one, and there's absolute value, ABS. Press enter, and it goes back to y equals. And then it's going to say, all right, x minus 3. We're going to put that in because that's exactly what they want you to find. There it is, graph this function. We press graph, and since it's an absolute value of x minus 3, you'd think it's going to move to the left because it's minus 3. But since it's inside the absolute value, it moves to the right. And so you're looking for a graph that moves to the right 3. And this is the answer. And everything is based on the actual parent function of absolute value of x. I'm going to press math, and I'm just going to graph the absolute value of x down. And just to show you the parent function is here. So if they ever ask you, according to what the parent function is, what is this y equals absolute value of x minus 3, what does that do? How much does that move? Where does it go? And they say, okay, from the parent function, it moves to the right 3. And that's really basically what you have to do. This one is easier. It's just asking you to look at the graph. So you're using your graphing calculator for that. So the first term in the sequence is 3. So this is a sub 1. So a sub 1 is 3. A sub 2, we don't know what that is. A sub 3, actually I'm not going to draw a line because it looks messy. A sub 3, we don't know what that is. A sub 4, we don't know what that is. A sub 5, we don't know what that is. A sub 6, and then a sub 7, they give you the 7th term is 18. The first term is 3. So I'm going to put 18 here. So what you do is you have to actually figure out how many hops that you have to do to get to 18. So to get to a sub 7, so that's 1. This is 2. So this is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4 to get to a sub 5. This is 6, 5. And then the final one is 6. So 6 hops you'll get to from 3 to 18. So what you do is you just take 18 and minus 3, subtract 3 from it. Because from 3 to 18, this is like the difference that you're trying to figure out. So that's 17, 16, 15. So you have 15 numbers that you have to hop and get to 18. So in how many hops did you cover 15? Well, 6 hops. I counted 6 jumps. So 15 divided by 6, you grab your calculator, clear this out, 15 divided by 6, you enter it, it is 2.5. So the common difference, D, equals 2.5. And if you add 2.5 to 3, 4, 5, so this is 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8, 9, 10, 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, 13, 14, 15, 15.5, 16, 16.5, 17.5, 18. Do you see 2.5 is like that's the common difference? So that's how that works right there. All right. We're coming down to the end here, and this is the recursive formula that everybody hates in the sequence. I'm just going to tell you how it is and what it is that you have to do to get this correct. They give you that a sub 1 is negative 5. This is the formula, right? So I'm just going to not highlight that whole thing because that really is confusing. This right here, that is the previous term. The term that is before the one that you're trying to find is the previous term. And they're looking for a sub 4. So I'm going to go start with a sub 1. Do they give you a sub 1? Yes, they do. A sub 1 is negative 5. You don't have to figure that out. The next term that you have to find is a sub 2. So my n is a sub 2. So a sub 2 equals, and here's my formula. This is negative 2. This is multiplication. So negative 2 times the previous term, a sub n minus 1. The previous term is negative 5 plus 2. So a sub 2 equals negative 2 times negative 5 is 10 plus 2. Positive 10 plus 2. Bring it down. A sub 2 is now 12. We're not done. We have to get to a sub 4. So the next one is a sub 3 equals negative 2, we're using the same formula, times the previous term. That is the previous term. That's 12. And then plus 2. So we have a sub 3 equals negative 24 plus 2, and you should get a sub 3 equals negative 22. We're almost finished. A sub 4 equals negative 2, using the same formula, times the previous term, which is negative 22, plus 2. A sub 4, negative 2 times negative 22 is positive 44, plus 2 is 46. A sub 4 is 46. That's it, right? It's not a difficult thing. Just remember, as soon as you see this right here, that is the previous term. So don't get confused that you have to put a number in for n. It is the previous term. So it's just multiplication. It's -2 times the previous term plus 2. That's it. All right. And that is it. So number 26. I'm just going to tell you that you're going to have to substitute this in. So it says that f of 6, they want you to find f of 6. So this is how you would show that work. X is 6. So 6 squared minus 1/2 times 6 plus 5. And then if you could figure all that out, you could put it into the calculator and you can get your answer for f of 6. Right? I choose to do it this way, where I'm going to use my calculator. So I'm going to press y equals. I'm going to clear out all that absolute value stuff that I'm doing, and I'm going to put this whole thing, this f of x, 1/4 x squared, I'm going to put that right into the calculator. So I'm going to put 1/4. This is x squared minus 1/2 x plus 5. Yes, you can convert them into decimals if you really want to. But just take a look. I have, for 26, I have this right on the screen. F of x equals 1/4 x squared minus 1/2 x plus 5 in parentheses. I did the same thing as y1. Now, I don't care what the graph looks like. All I'm looking for now, press second function graph, I'm looking for this x right here. When x is 6, what's the y? When x is 6, the y is 1. So f of 6 equals 1. And that's it. Like, I don't want to bother with the substitution and the confusion and all of that, because it's confusing to me, especially with the squared. If they gave you a negative number, to figure out what the output is, you might make a mistake. You don't want to make a mistake. Just put the f of x into the calculator for for the first equation, that y1, and then just go ahead and work it that way. Just look for the x that they give you, that they want you to find the output for, and that's it. That's your answer. So here's another one that is exactly the same, but it's a little bit, it's simple, right? So, but you could still put this in. You could use your calculator, or you could just go ahead and substitute it out. So you have -2 as the x. This one's a little bit easier. You could just kind of figure out what it is, but you don't want to leave anything to chance. 2 times -2 is -4. -4 plus 6 is 2. 2 divided by 2. F of -2 should be equal to 1, according to my calculation. Or you could just go ahead and clear this out, and you could put alpha x, which is your fraction symbol. I'm going to put 2x plus 6 on the top. 2x plus 6 on the top. And on the bottom, I'm going to divide it by 2. I'm going to press second function graph, and here are all my inputs and outputs. So the input that they give you is -2. You can see it there. So I'm going to go up to -2, 1. There it is, -2, 1. Use your calculator. Or you could use your calculator. All right, and that's about it there. All right, so there's a couple of things going on here that you do have to see. You don't have a total column and you don't have the total row. So I'm just going to put total here. And I'm going to start adding up the numbers across of the row. Right? So 32 plus 44 plus 24 is 100. 36 plus 30 plus 34 is 100. So this total is 200. 36, so you could put 68 for here. This is addition going down. This is 74. And this is 58. Right? So if you add all of these up, if you want to check, if you want to add all of these up, it should equal to 200. Hopefully it does. And it does. All right, so now that you have all the totals down, we are going to slowly do this based on the frequency table above. What percentage of the students, stop, full stop, of the students, of all students, 200. Of the students prefer hot dogs. Out of everybody, how many people prefer hot dogs? 58. So we're just going to take I'm going to graph this and clear it. 58 over 200. 58 divided by 200. And that is 0.29. What percent? I'm going to put an arrow. 29%. Remember, move the arrow, move the decimal over 2 places to the right to make a decimal a percent. Based on the frequency table above, what percent of the females? What percent of the females? Stop. How many females are there? 100. What percent of the females preferred cheeseburgers? So how many of the females preferred cheeseburgers? 32, 32. If you put that 32 divided by 100 is 0.32. And you get 32%. Next question. Based on the frequency table, what percent of the students, stop right there, of the students, all students, 200, preferred cheeseburgers? So all students, how many people preferred cheeseburgers? 68. Calculate a 68 divided by 200. Enter, that is 0.34. And that is 34%. And then, wow, 2 more questions. Based on the frequency table above, what percent of female students, stop right there. Female students, we're going to just have to go up a little bit. Female students, 100. Preferred hot dogs. How many? 24. 24 female students preferred hot dogs. So that equals 0.24 if you put it in the calculator, and you get 24%. Based on the frequency, last question, based on the frequency table, what percent of male students? How many male students are there? There's 100. How many of them, how many of those male students preferred pizza? 30. Looking at 30. So that's 0.30, and that is 30%. And that ends the review sheet for the midterm. Hopefully that helped out a little bit. Bring your questions into class. Make sure that you understand everything on here. You'll do well. And thank you for watching. Hope that helped.